Sometime in 1982, in the dark of the night as many people slumbered away, a group of fighters belonging to the Uganda Freedom Movement, UFM, fired shots towards the army base in Lubiri Barracks from Rubaga Hill, where they had fled after an offensive on their base by government troops. The following morning, government troops raided Lubaga Cathedral as the Reverend Father Joseph Mukasa Nkeera, who was then an assistant priest at the cathedral, led mass. The soldiers were hunting for the UFM fighters loyal to the late Andrew Kaira, who had fired at their base in the night.
And then they entered the church. They drove me off from the altar, beat me up with the other priests who were celebrating.
The incident attracted huge media attention locally and regionally. Since he was at the center of the events, Father Nkeera was best placed to tell the story.
It happened that the bishop and the chancellor said, "I think you can go and do journalism."
That was the beginning of his journalism career. He later trained in journalism and public relations and went on to pursue a master's degree in this field of study. After school, Father Nkeera was appointed the Information Secretary of the Kampala Archdiocese. At the time Pope Paul VI came to Uganda, the first Pope to visit Uganda, the young man, who was later to become a priest, watched the event on Uganda television.
TVs were not easy to come by, but my uncle called Chiseka had a TV. Those small TVs, those who remember them, with the flag of Uganda, black and white. So my mom traveled all the way from Bugerere to take us to see the Pope.
But when the second Pope visited Uganda in 1993, he was at the center of the preparations to receive Pope John Paul II. Father Nkeera was in charge of disseminating information about the Pope through the media. He addressed many press conferences, especially as the day of the Pope's arrival drew nearer.
I read more about him, which I hadn't done before. So I got literature. I got to know him, his character, how he was born.
This is one of the literatures that the publicity committee came up with to help people understand who Pope John Paul II was and what his visit meant to Uganda. Pope John Paul II landed at Entebbe International Airport in the afternoon of 5th February 1993. As the Information Secretary of the Kampala Archdiocese, Father Nkeera was among the dignitaries who received the Pope at the airport.
When he landed at Entebbe, and this is what he used to do everywhere he went, he would kiss the ground.
He was introduced to the Pope and shook his hands.
In fact, we overwhelmed. Even if he says anything, you don't hear it. So you just shake hands and you don't want to wash your hands. I remember my experience.
The Pope's homilies and speeches were prepared by his press team ahead of time. Father Nkeera's duty was to give it to the media at the right time. Uganda Television was the official broadcaster, while the print media also played its role.
You in the media, embargo. They say it's going to give this homily, but you give it, you don't write about it, you don't release anything until such an hour. So we got these documents, but embargoed.
Pope John Paul II was in Uganda for 6 days. After celebrating Mass at Namugongo Martyr's Shrine, he traveled to Gulu, Soroti and Kasese using a light Uganda Airlines plane.
He could see it that what he saw in Namugongo was different from Gulu. And then he goes to Soroti. Soroti, beautiful songs, beautiful dances, beautiful olfactory gifts. You could see, there's what you call spontaneous in communication, spontaneous joy. You could see people crying out of joy, tears of joy.
The Pope did not directly address journalists, save for the brief farewell remark he made as he prepared to return to Rome in Italy.
He said as he left Uganda that I have lost my heart in Uganda. And indeed, this Pope loved Uganda.
For the few days he was in Pope John Paul's vicinity, Father Nkeera said he saw a humble man, almost oblivious to the power and influence he wielded in the world.
The people were guarding him for his security, but you could see him pushing, let people come.
Pope Francis, who is expected in Uganda from 27th to 29th November, will be the third Pope to visit the land of the Uganda Martyrs. Irene Namialo, NTV.